One thing that you're very great at is pushing yourself past your limits. You've done this on plenty of different challenges on your channel. Why do you think most people don't push themselves to the limits, and how can they find their limit?
I think finding your limit comes from other people pushing you around you. Like, obviously you can push yourself so hard, but when I surround myself with someone who, let's say they train harder than me, I've trained with Mr. Olympias, I've trained with exercise scientists, I've trained with coaches of Mr. Olympia, like literally CBum's coach, I've trained with him. And I push myself so hard to a certain degree, but then you train with somebody that trains way harder than you, and it opens up like a new realm in your brain. You're like, wow, I was not going as hard as I could. And I played sports my whole life. So for me, pushing myself always, one, it comes from my dad. He always pushed the hell out of me for sports. And then two, you got coaches that were always pushing you to be a better player on the field. And I feel like being surrounded by people that want the best from you really instilled from a young age for me to build those habits of pushing myself. Now I kind of can do it. I do it on my own. I don't really need someone to push me. Like it's just habit and habitual.
Do you do it every workout? How often do you find that zone?
I would say, almost, let's say 95% of my workouts are definitely training really, really hard. And then also just my brain is kind of wired to be like all or nothing. Like I'm very black and white. Mm-hmm. So it's either go to like ultimate death on a set or like go to ultimate death and trying to grow the YouTube channel, or don't do it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I heard from you that I really liked is that when most people get to their limit where they think they have nothing left, they actually have 40% more left.
Yeah.
That I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. So I was getting trained by these Navy SEALs during college, and they said that to me, and they said it to the whole team. Yeah. And I'll never forget that. It's something that I think we all need to think about. I still have to remind myself, like, we have more in the tank. Mm-hmm. And when it's something that you want to happen, like say you want to be a successful entrepreneur, it's like when you're working really hard and long hours and you're tapped out for the day, you probably have a little bit more in the tank that you can get out of the day. And same with sports, same with weightlifting, you're pushing yourself, you think you're done, but you really do have more in the tank. And it's a good reminder to always remember and just tell yourself, like, what if I have 40% more? And then try to do that.
So training with some of the best coaches, the best athletes, the best bodybuilders, powerlifters, what's a common thread you see amongst all of them?
Honestly, I think it's like the passion. I think they're all doing it out of passion for whatever sport or industry they're in. And I relate to that heavily because what pushes me, besides my habits of, being pushed by others and forming discipline over years, all drives from passion. Like I push myself very hard because I enjoy it and I have passion in everything I'm doing. And I think that that's what I find as a very common characteristic in a lot of successful people that I've gotten to know with, filmed with, trained with, is like they love training. They love coaching. They love their sport or whatever it might be. Whether it's an Olympic athlete that I've trained with, or it's Chris Bumstead or Urs Kalasinski or Ramon Dino. Those are the top 3 bodybuilders in classic physique, or were. CBum obviously retired, but
Is he actually retired?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe he comes out of the woodworks not
Could
retired.
Be a marketing ploy, I'm retired, but then he comes
I think
back
didn't Tom Brady
more.
retire like several times?
A lot of bodybuilders will retire and then like 4 years later come back just because they love it, and like that's the same thing. It's all passion, And I think when you're really passionate about something and then you combine that with hard work, it's like the golden duo of just. That's where a real success can come.
Yeah. So how does the average person know if they're pushing themselves hard enough in the gym?
I think you got to find someone at the gym, whether it's a stranger or, a friend that you can see they clearly go hard, know what they're doing, know more than me, and either try to train with them or just be like, I see it. If you can visually see someone pushing themselves that hard, I don't know, put your phone down, film yourself. Are you going that hard? And that's a really good way to judge kind of like how hard you are going. I think people don't realize, because a lot of training nowadays there's a lot of, it's more of like a niche terminology of like RIR, reps in reserve, or RPE, rate of perceived exertion. It means how hard am I pushing myself out of a 10. If it's a 9, that means I have 1 rep left in the tank. And I think a lot of people train like this thinking, they're like, I have 1 more. That's where I'm supposed to stop. But in reality, they probably could have pumped out 3 more. They just think they're at that 90 percentile.
How much of a difference does it make getting those last few sets? Because I heard, maybe this is just a myth, that most of the muscle growth comes from like those last few sets.
I don't want to say anything and like be quoted because I'm not a scientist, but from my personal experience, I have seen the best results on the last few reps and really grinding out till failure, like that 10th rep, you cannot get 11th even if a gun is held to your head. That's full failure. I don't think you need to do everything like that, but I think there's a few times in a workout that you should push yourself that hard, and that's going to tell you how hard you're actually going. You know, if you're failing on rep 10 and you cannot get rep 11, well, now you know where your baseline is. But if you're putting the weight down and thinking to yourself, oh, I have one, I probably had one more, you know, did you though, or did you have 2 or 3?